Hello everyone and welcome to Classic Sitcoms, Facts, and Trivia. Appreciate you being here. Before we get started, I ask you to please subscribe and please share these out on your Facebook page. Thank you very much. Today's video is on, this is my opinion, of course. If you feel free to add to it in the comments below if you agree, disagree, whatever, however you have your own. These are the 20 of the worst sitcoms, TV shows from the 70s. See if you even remember some of them. Let's check it out. Highcliffe Manor. Everyone who lived in the 70s remembers Dark Shadows. Now, this show was fantastic, and Highcliffe Manor wanted to do something similar. It was gothic horror sitcom, with many of the same themes. Writers really should have learned that you cannot beat the original. Highcliffe Manor was originally slated to have 6 episodes, but it only got through 4 before NBC pulled it. Audiences did not like it, and the ratings were far too low to keep it going. Dark Shadows is still the boss. Struck by Lightning. Struck by Lightning was a show about the reimagined tale of Frankenstein's monster. This update of Frankenstein was a descendant of the Doctor trying to keep alive his monster while simultaneously keeping his identity secret. The show was slated for 11 episodes. Although they hadn't begun filming, the series barely made it through 3 before CBS decided it wasn't worth keeping. I guess audience didn't like that either. The Sword of Justice. In this TV series, a playboy by day is a mercenary by night. Sound familiar? But no, it's not Batman. To leave messages and warnings for criminals, he would place a 3 card of the 4 various suits denoted a specific meaning. Does this sound a lot? Yeah, I thought so too. Apparently audiences weren't too enthused with the idea and no one tuned in. The series lasted 9 episodes. Hello, Larry. Hello, Larry was a sitcom that starred McLean Stevenson. It was supposed to be a hit due to his successful history on MASH as Colonel. I think that's sad. I can't think of his last name. Colonel Blake. But it never stood a chance. Poor writing made it extremely unfunny, which made it regular subject of many jabs at The Tonight Show by Johnny Carson. Somehow the series managed to last 2 seasons, though. Not sure how it was humanly possible, but maybe it was one of those things where the train wreck was too awful to look away. At least they gave Johnny Carson some material, right? The Ernest Angley Hour. Ernest Angley was a televangelist who started a popular show in the 70s. He didn't claim to be a faith healer, but his trademark was to put his palm on someone's forehead and yell, "Be healed," to well, it sounds kind of sketchy, don't it? One of the most claims included that Jesus could heal HIV, AIDS, and various other diseases. Ernest Angley was recently been accused of operating a cult, threatening members and inappropriately touching people. Do you remember that one? I don't. 3 for the Road. After his wife dies, Pete Karras sells his house and packs up his 2 sons, aged 12 and 17, to travel the United States in an RV. Along the way, they help people and solve their problems. I kind of like the sound of it, but the series had a total of 13 episodes filmed and ready to go, but the network decided to cancel the 3 for the Road after airing 11. Most TVs at the time were more lighthearted, so it would have been a little bit heavier content. You got to remember the Brady Bunch Hour. The Brady Bunch went down in history as one of the best TV shows ever made, so to cash in on that success, ABC started the Brady Bunch Hour. It was a variety show that featured skits and songs performed by the original cast members, well, except for Eve Plum, who played Jan, and it didn't turn out very well at all. TV Guide consistently ranks the Brady Bunch Hour as one of the top 5 worst TV shows of all times. Though the pilot was a rating success, the show within a show storyline was a flop, and later episodes, 9 in total, were produced sporadically. The Texas Wheelers. This one is pretty interesting, namely because it starred young Mark Hamill, who is now a huge movie star and household name. The Texas Wheelers was about Zach Wheeler, who returns after years and years to raise his children in rural Texas following their mother's death. Despite having talent, the show wasn't successful. Some critics claimed it failed because it was competing with the Rockford Files. Regardless, 8 episodes were filmed, but only 4 originally made it to air. The last 4 were aired the following year. Okay, how about Who's Watching the Kids? Producer Gary Marshall, for some reason, kept going back to the idea of Vegas showgirls. This one was about 2 young Vegas showgirls working together while watching their younger siblings. That's it. Them sharing their lives together. Riveting plot, right? The original pilot did well, but the rest of the series did not. And the following episodes failed to garner sufficient viewership. Who's Watching the Kids was set to have 15 episodes, but made it through 9. Mr. T and Tina. Mr. T and Tina was NBC's attempt to create a spinoff from the character that appeared in a single episode of Welcome Back, Kotter. Instead of humorous, it came off as shockingly stereotypical and pushed gags that were extremely bigoted, even for the 70s. It was canceled after 5 episodes. Later, the actor and actresses came out to criticize how awful the writing was. One writer for Kotter reported that ABC had already decided to cancel it before the pilot had even aired. We're at number 10, Coed Fever. All you need is a title to guess how disastrous this was. The show was a sitcom that tried to capitalize on the success of Animal House by rolling out with a frat house theme. It wasn't received well. Coed Fever ended up producing 6 episodes, but only 1 of them made it to the air in the United States. After that, the show was promptly canceled by the network after an overwhelmingly negative reception. I do remember this one. David Cassidy, Man Undercover. In his first starring role since A Partridge Family, David Cassidy played an undercover cop who poses as a student to investigate a high school drug ring. Okay, it does sound like 21 Jump Street, but the show apparently bombed pretty hard. It was weird off the bat because David Cassidy played the tough guy that image just didn't fit him at all. The acting from the other characters is also pretty weak. After 10 episodes, NBC decided to cancel. The Ropers. Three's Company was a huge hit, so ABC created a spin-off called The Ropers. It attempted to capitalize on the enormous success of the original, but failed to realize one thing. The Ropers weren't likable enough for people to watch. The characters weren't funny or interesting, so audiences stopped watching. The show did have 2 seasons, which consisted of 28 episodes. In the late 80s, a spin-off was pitched, but it was pulled because there were too many sitcoms at the time. Flanagans Rabbi, part of NBC's Sunday Mystery movie series. Flanagans Rabbi was a series of 90-minute television films about a rabbi who helped police solve crimes. Only 4 episodes aired. Grady, which I kind of liked, to be honest with you. Grady was a spinoff of Sanford and Son after Red Fox left the show. Fox wanted to develop Grady and make it into a great show, but there was one problem. Grady was never a well-developed character, and the show didn't help much. The show flopped pretty quick. Audiences completely forgot about it years later. The problem was that the show couldn't get solid viewership. There were 10 episodes before NBC took it off the air. Supertrain. Supertrain made history, but not in a good way. At the time, it was one of the most expensive TV shows that had ever been produced for American audiences. According to The Guardian, it cost around $5 million to make the train alone. Turns out that the money doesn't equal a good show. While heavily promoted by the network, audiences just didn't turn up in order to make it profitable. It bowed out after 9 episodes. The network attempted to cut costs by reworking the cast, but that usually ends up in failure too, so that's the point, right? Holmes and Yoyo. Holmes and Yoyo was a comedy about Detective Holmes and his android partner, Yoyo Holmes. Holmes teaches Yoyo what it's like to be human, and Yoyo helps Holmes during his adventures. Quirky, right? Definitely, but it wasn't good. TV Guide likes Holmes and Yoyo as one of the worst shows ever made. It only lasted 13 episodes, but ABC wasn't going to be defeated. The network greenlit more shows with a similar theme, including Future Cop and RoboCop. So at least something came from it. Three's a Crowd. Don't mistake this show for Three's Company. or the 80s Three's a Crowd TV show. The 70s disaster is something completely different. This was a sleazy game show where a guy would see who knew him best, his wife or his secretary. Unlike other shows that bring people together, this one was destined to tear marriages apart. Nothing like watching marriages dissolve right before your very eyes. Scary thing was that the show came on in '99 on the Game Show Network, although this one focused on girlfriends and best friends. Of course, it also bombed. Me and the Chimp. Me and the Chimp was a sitcom that starred a dentist who lived in his family, his wife, his 2 kids, and a chimp named Buttons. Buttons was a washout from the space program. It could have had potential. It had soon-to-be producers, but they didn't have much under their belts at the time. Super producer Gary Marshall and Thomas Miller would have better success later in the decade. Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley, but Me and the Chimp was one of the first tries. It aired only 13 episodes. And last but not least, I saw this and I remembered it, but not real well. It's called Dusty's Trail. Some of you may remember it. Dusty's Trail was doomed to fail before it even made the network floor. It got a bad start because every network had declined the show almost immediately. Somehow it managed to air, but it bombed pretty bad. Dusty's Trail was a carbon copy of Gilligan's Island set in the Old West. None of the cast had chemistry, which made each interaction more awkward than the last. The show got through 26 episodes before it was canceled. You guys remember any of these? I mean, I know you remember 2 or 3 at least, but some of these I've never even heard of. I just found this and I thought, wow, interesting. I'm going to start looking up some of these and see if I can find some reruns just for fun. That's all I got for you. I hope you enjoyed this. And I hope you subscribed. If you have not yet, please do. We're getting closer to that 1,000. And if you like what you see, give us a thumbs up. Have a great day. God bless. And I'll be praying for you.